A small example I would like to give you on communication. When I had come to Raipur, I just joined in June this year. I was at the station and the travel agent had made arrangement to pick me up. He had sent a vehicle. The driver was standing outside. I didn't know. I had his number and I tried his mobile. Mobile is switched off. Today we have a fancy of carrying mobile, but always the switch off phone. So that one he did not answer. I came out of the station with the entire luggage. I was standing on one side with the trolley. Driver was not visible. That particular vehicle also was not visible. I contacted the travel agent again. No, sir, the driver is very much there. I talked to him just now. So by the time probably he has put on his mobile. Again I tried to get some feedback. And he said, sir, the driver at the station is waiting for you. You can identify there was a gamcha in his neck. And I said, having Tom, Dick and Harry has got a gamcha in his neck. How to identify which gamcha fellow is my driver? Then I told back. I said, please tell your driver, I am standing outside the station and I am wearing a pen. Let him identify his own. So what happens if you fail to communicate? It can lead to many unwanted situations. It took me almost half an hour to find out where the vehicle, where the driver, and to take it and then go to the right place. One very important analysis that has to be done in disaster management is vulnerability and the proneness analysis. How vulnerable a particular section or division of the mine or a plant is and how prone it is best. These two analyses are little different and they are not really directly interconnected. Vulnerability of a mine or a plant is the potentiality level to which the mine or the plant belongs at a particular time. And the proneness of a mine is not the same as the vulnerability. In a particular case, vulnerability may be high, proneness may be less. Vice versa also is possible. Now you find a picture here, a barbed wire fencing and a bird sitting over there. This just indicates how vulnerable the bird is. Anytime the barbed wire can pierce through its body and it can get in there. You find here three chains. The center chain has one of the links partially open. So that particular chain is now vulnerable to breakage or vulnerable to snap. Now if we do this kind of analysis in our own work areas, we will be able to identify which area is vulnerable, how much, to what extent. The only indicator of vulnerability is high, medium and low. That's how we generally classify. But we have to identify which are the high vulnerability areas, which are the medium vulnerability areas, and which are the low vulnerability areas. So what do you find here? A bunch of key is in the key hole, door is closed. The occupant inside is highly vulnerable at the moment somebody can lock them. This is one common mistake many people do in the hotels, even at home sometimes, in the apartment. The key is hanging outside and you have closed the door. You have become vulnerable. Somebody wants to attack, you can enter, you can lock it from outside. Somebody wants to play pool with you, you can lock it. And then it can lead to a disaster. This rope, with all the stand gone, hanging over your one stand. Highly vulnerable to snapping, just like the link platform. Somebody leaves a wallet on the table, unattended, anybody can steal the money, vulnerable. So this is what the vulnerability is all about. Proneness is when no one getting into the same kind of accident repeatedly. The gentleman goes on the scooter, he hits against the cow, injured. Then he goes after the injury is over and he comes back after medical fitness. Again he goes to the plant, hits again on the side. Again out for a month. That's called many accident prone. Again and again the same kind of thing keeps on repeating. So this is the main difference between vulnerability and proneness. Now, I will not go much on legislative framework, but I don't think the audience is really interested in that. But in every industry, in every plant, in every mine, there is a set of rules and regulations which have to be essentially followed. Otherwise, you can get into problem. Now, there are some of the regulations in the coal mines and the mines, CMR 57, MMR 61, and there are a number of recommendations made by the conferences on mine safety, which keep happening periodically. On On the 9th and 10th, Conference on Safety Mines had very strongly recommended the adoption of disaster management plan by every mining company. Now there are two things. I have been talking about disaster management. Whether anybody has given a thought to the crisis management. They are again two different things. Disaster is what I have been talking about so far. Crisis management. I'll just give you a few examples, but invariably there is a threat to the organization in case of a crisis. There is an element of surprise, and the time to decide is very, very short. So what is crisis? Some of you may be remembering, way back in 1982, Johnson & Johnson company had made some capsule called Tylenol capsules. One mischief monger added 65 milligrams of cyanide in one particular place in some consignment. So on account of that, there are a couple of deaths. Those people who consume this particular capsule, they died. The moment it became public, 7 8 deaths took place. The chief executive officer of the company, Mr. James Burke, appeared on television, appealed to the entire nation, appealed to everybody around the world, please do not consume this particular capsule of so and so types. He had to face a loss of $100 million. But he came back within 1 year's time back on the normal scale. It was a crisis. He took it as a challenge and he himself went on TV. He said, please do not use this. He did not bother for the loss he is going to incur, but he bothered about the ethics. Very, very important in any business is the professional ethics. If you don't follow it, the business will collapse like anything. Like the Dow Corning company. A $1 billion company became bankrupt overnight in US again. They were dealing with the breast implants. They were unethical. So crisis management or the business continuity or business continuity plan of the project, that again becomes very, very important besides the disaster management. For that we have to have a set of people, and the chief executive or the person in charge of the operation have to take care of it, and you have to make sure that yes, you are doing it as per business. While a crisis will undoubtedly cause a significant disruption to the organization, a business contingency plan can help minimize the disruption. As I told you, that immediately whatever stock we had, we had to throw it out, we had to destroy the Johnson & Johnson company I'm talking about. But after 1 year, he was back on wheels. The company was again started. I already discussed this. Similar thing had happened with Odwalla Foods, happened to us in 1996. But there was a couple of deaths because of food poisoning. The chief executive officer appeared on the TV and he pleaded to the people not to use that particular product. And that saved him millions of dollars later. Immediately he had to face some kind of loss because he had to destroy that item, throw away that food, the apple juice which was prepared, which caused the food poisoning, but subsequently he moved away. So lessons learned in crisis management, as I was just mentioning about the Bhopal tragedy, in which very poor communication before, during and after the crisis was thousands of lives and a lot of money was spent. As in Waldex, I had mentioned about one of the 10 most expensive disasters, but what happened in case of this particular tanker which had hit and it caused so much of oil leak in the ocean.